Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Christine, and this is Christine from the Liar videos. Hi, Ollie. I think you knew I would bite on this one, no pun intended. So, what exactly is the role of animals in recovery from narcissistic abuse? You know, I really love your commentary, but if you could just read this through and comment at the end, I would like that. Only because it took me a lot of hours to put into words without making it a book. I want to hear you read it to challenge. I want to hear you read it to challenge me and see if the logic makes sense. Since I was a child and experienced so much isolation, I used to spend a lot of time in my backyard watching the birds, squirrels, raccoon, and deer. It was my escape. I would imagine that I could talk to the animals like Snow White and they would love me. It made me think that I was special when a deer would let me get close to it or a butterfly would land on my clothing. I used to think that God sent me these signs of comfort to show me that one day everything was going to be okay. It sounds infantile, but it gave me peace. One winter, I remember a gray field mouse that had found its way into my house and was hiding behind our big block TV. I felt a special bond with Harry. Yes, I named him. I fed him Velveeta cheese, and I loved watching him scamper in and out of the little crevices hiding. Harry always came out to visit with me. I never touched him, but we used to look at each other for long periods of time. I guess you could say I loved him and he made me happy. One day, my mother saw Harry's small black droppings in the laundry room and immediately told my father to get the traps out because we had a rat infestation. I panicked. I begged my father not to kill the mouse, that I would trap him and set him free, but I was ignored. You can get rabies and die, my mother yelled at me. I hated her with everything I was just then. Listen. A mouse, I know it seems cute and all, but that's a rodent infestation. Where there's one mouse, there's always more. You can't have rodents in your house. You just can't. Trying to trap it, you can't trap a mouse. It's going to come right back in. They're rodents. When I was a kid, my mother agreed to get a collie because the movie Lassie came out. She insisted that the dog be left outside. My dad built Heidi a doghouse and run. During a blizzard, Heidi was covered in snow, and I pleaded with my mother to bring her in. She let her stay in the garage. I slept with Heidi there and held her and to keep her warm. My mother called me ridiculous. She used to make fun of me that I could speak dog. My mother would do things like get a fish head with eyes and make me drop it into a pot of boiling water for soup. She would take me to the butcher and make me watch them cut up carcasses for the juiciest pieces. I remember the cold, metallic smell of the freezer. We're Puerto Rican, so the pig roasts were annual events. She would take a knife and say how much she loved the coolie part of the pig because it was so tender. The pig would turn and turn for hours while everyone was having a ball, and I would cry. I remember her constantly bringing home lobster, and I would tell her, please don't get one for me. I couldn't stand the whistling noise when they were dropped in the water. I imagined it was screaming. Well, she always did, and my dad always ended up eating an extra one. When I was 13, I remember talking one lobster she bought me and I remember taking one lobster she bought me and setting it free in my pool. I was planning on letting it stay there until I could take it to the stream over the fence in my backyard. Needless to say, I didn't plan it well and found it bright green the next morning. So was I projecting? Maybe. Did I know what I was doing? No. Did I live in a world where I didn't have any normal functioning adults with normal reactions to situations? Yes. Was I ever yelled at or rejected by an animal? No. When I was a kid, I had a dog one time. I knew nothing about rescue. When I saw Lady and the Tramp at the movies, I cried when the dog warden took Tramp to the shelter. Histrionic? Yes. I'm going to beat myself up because I had no ability to emotionally... Am I going to beat myself up because I had no ability to emotionally regulate? No. In 2010, married with 2 kids, my 14-year-old mini poodle died. I went into a horrible depression. I loved her. Is that histrionic? At this point, who knows? All I know is that I didn't flail around my house beating my chest, stay in bed, or bay at the moon because of my loss. I was just very sad. It was then that I began the rescue. My first 4 years, the kids would go to school and I would go to the shelter. I shoveled out runs, cleaned cages, walked dogs, socialized cats, and met every type of person you could imagine. Jamie, the widower who lost his wife to cancer, he visited Putter, a pit mix, every day. Jamie showed up at 11 and stayed until 5. He wasn't going to leave until Putter got adopted, which he did. I never saw him after that. I only know that watching him pet Putter in the shelter parking lot, he was working something out in his head, and it gave him a reason to get up in the morning. I remember Terrence, the volunteer, who I later learned was doing community service for assault. We knew nothing about it at the time, privacy laws. Well, we became friends and would walk dogs together. He was the best with the most aggressive dogs. He ended up adopting 2 of them who no one else could handle. I used to see Terrence at the dog park, and he loved to show off all the tricks Mason and Chase could do. By aggressive... This is the problem. Why are you bringing aggressive dog? Why would anybody bring aggressive dogs to a dog park where they're going to attack other... I mean, the chances people take with these animals is mind-blowing. Definitely the type of guy you want to give aggressive dogs to. Somebody who's doing community service for assault, by the way. There was the group home for mentally challenged adults that would come every week. They weren't allowed to walk dogs, but they were allowed to play with the kittens and try to socialize some of the feral cats. One of the caretakers said to me, Wednesdays are the best. We come here and I don't have to worry about a thing. They behave all week so they don't lose the privilege of shelter day. Finally, the shelter workers were mostly teens in young 20s. I would say they were street kids. They all smoked, they drank, they all snuck the cat tranquilizers out the back and used to go clubbing. But they had a devotion to these animals that I could never take away from them as they're stealing the cat tranquilizers out the back. Whether it's somebody mourning a loss or not, you have to understand all of these reasons people are coming to the shelter you're giving me are selfish reasons. That's fine if you're just honest about it's a pet, it's an animal. The animals were their lifeline. Yeah, to drugs, to cat tranquilizers. Were they projecting? Maybe. Did they know it? Probably not. I think they knew they were stealing cat tranquilizers. All they saw was a wrong, and they wanted to right it. The state of animals that we would see come in would make anyone cry. You think those ASPCA commercials are bad? It's worse than that. I'm sure they have. Try having to euthanize a dog that was submitted by its owner that they didn't want it anymore. The dog is young, full of life, and kids have no choice because animals are property, and you have to do what the county charter dictates. I've seen these hardened, take no shit kids sobbing while this sweet dog licking their face has as they put the catheter in and the dogs go to sleep. So who is histrionic in that scenario? I mean, you can have compassion. I mean, it's not... The histrionic is the overreaction to it. I can understand feeling bad as it's going down and those... But if you're going to carry on and make it about you for the next month, that I gotta put the dog down, I gotta do it, that's histrionic. Histrionic isn't a normal reaction. It's the overreaction. It's the meltdown. Every time you see a brown dog, you're gonna sit down and cry your eyes out and that's what I'm talking about. It seems like everybody who's coming to this shelter is running from something. Nobody's doing it because they actually like the animals. They say they like it, but like I'm telling you, it's all you're projecting what you should be putting into yourself onto these animals. It's a distraction. And I'm going to say again, from the other video I did on this, okay, the reactions from the people who are defending it, again, it sounds like relapsed alcoholics. I can handle it. No, you can't. Here's the real question you got to ask yourself if you're down this road, if you're one of these people and you have a spouse. If I talk to your spouse about this issue without you around, what would they tell me? This is what most rescuers see. I get that animals aren't people. I get that people who suffer from narcissistic abuse tend to project. Yet in this world, you see sadistic narcissistic people adopt a dog only to throw it in a ring to be torn apart by other dogs. Sometimes random people find bait dogs half alive and bring them to the shelter after they have been thrown out car windows. You see that day after day. How do you not go nuts? Do you see how you can get trapped into continuing to go back? How this can become an obsession without intending to harm anyone? People who drink alcohol tend to soothe their nerves. People who do this are stimulating every awful feeling you can imagine. Self-punishing, maybe. Then there are elitist breeders so uppity that they believe that any dog that isn't 100% purebred should be killed to preserve the integrity of the breed. They treat their dogs as trophies and give them nothing in the way of attention or love. They use them to win titles and discard them after they have been bred to death. Typically, most breeders have euthanasia DEA certifications, and they put their own dogs to sleep so no one knows what they do. They will kill a dog because it has a lazy eye or the ears aren't standing up perfectly. So again, who's the perfectionist narcissist? You all can be. Doesn't matter. Just because there's narcissists on it doesn't mean that all you're really pointing out here is there's narcissists everywhere. What you're really pointing out, Christine, is how toxic the entire situation is. That's what you're pointing out. You're basically proving how toxic the whole thing is and how somebody who's trying to recover from narcissistic abuse shouldn't go anywhere near this because you're just going to fall down a deeper rabbit hole. Then you see the Amish who believe animals are no different than produce, like a head of lettuce. They are the largest perpetrators of puppy mills. They stack these dogs up 10 crates high in freezing barns because they believe God has given them everything on earth for their own control and use. After they are done with animals, they pitchfork and throw them in huge barn fires because euthanasia's solution is too expensive. Again, is this religious narcissism? It's religious barbarism. But again, you can't save every animal. You can't tackle every issue. You can't. You can't. The whole thing is toxic. I used to deal with a lot of shelters in West Virginia. The biggest issue there, opportunists who pass their property off as shelters and take municipality money to care for stray animals and leave them to rot and die. Many from parasites exploding their intestines because they weren't dewormed. Another huge issue in some of the country Black Hills areas. People go around, get drunk, and shoot other people's dogs for fun. Borderline psychopaths. Okay, so this is a very chaotic world, as you can see. Why do people get lost in it? Some do it to post on Facebook about their good works and live for those comments of, "You're an angel, you're the best, I could never do what you do. Here's the chronic do-gooder." Some do it because they want to be the dog whisperer, and they take really aggressive dogs and post on social media how they turn the dog around. Let's call it the pit bull around. Okay, you got the pit hags. Let's just call them what they are. The pit hags, who go looking for aggressive dogs and then lie about their behavior to adopt them out. Those are the ones that usually get your face eaten. Pit hags. Don't be a pit hag. Don't do a pit and run. It's never done that before. Bullshit. All for accolades. Then the dog gets adopted out, bites someone, and they quickly euthanize. A professional dog trainer should never give a high arousal dog to a family. Never, ever. It's irresponsible and dangerous, but it satisfies their miracle worker image and their arrogant entitlement. So do it because they feel... Some do it because they feel they can hide their antisocial personality problems. Most of the people you meet are disordered in some way, so a person can almost feel normal. The majority of rescuers do it because of why I did it. I thought rescuing animals would redeem me. Not that I didn't love every animal that I helped, but I found my depression increased. My problems didn't go away. My anxiety got worse because now I'm on a list that alerts me 24 hours before a dog is to be put down. Not just pit bulls, but elderly small dogs, dogs that have been there too long, dogs that have some illness that needs medication, and so on. These lists are called the urgent death row dogs, and I still get it every day on my Facebook. So you think I have to save this dog or else I failed. I have gotten myself stuck with chronically ill dogs that required a lot of money to treat. People promised me they would help me. I got stuck with the bill, and the dog died anyway. Because they're just looking to alleviate their guilt of putting the dog down because they don't really want to do it. But they want to stick you with the bill. Rescue is a noble pursuit. You cannot do it if you are not clear-headed. You just can't. You will fall into every single trap I fell into. It can potentially make your issue worse because you feel embarrassed about being in debt, or constantly cleaning up pee, or always depressed because there is always a sad case of suffering to dwell on, or lose your love of animals in general because you begin to resent what they have done to your life. No more vacations, no more peace and quiet, constant texts and phone calls with emergencies. It never ends. Geez, it sounds like dealing with the narcissist, doesn't it? Gee, it just sounds like dealing with a narcissist. If you have suffered from abuse, you will be drawn to healing others, whether it be kids, senior citizens, animals, mentally ill population, prisoners, etc. This is a warning. You cannot give away what you do not have. If you don't heal and have true peace, you cannot give that to any other cause. It's okay to make you a priority. It's okay to say, hey, I need a year or two to heal. I'm not doing anything for anyone until I get better. If you don't do this, eventually all that damage inside of you will come out and inadvertently destroy you, what it is you are trying to save. I hope this helps, because it's not an easy thing to articulate, because I never saw this as narcissism. But I do see this as a trap to further victimize yourself, as you have no boundaries and you will become obsessed and eventually ineffective. You will avoid the true problem, and God forbid it can destroy you. When you are ready to help, educate yourself on the cause if you want to be involved in, and pick one small thing to do. Go slow, be happy, and be mindful. P.S. I can't believe I forgot to include this, but one of my mother's stories about animals included how she watched her Chihuahua Tuffy. Virginia's lackey had a pit bull terrier named Tuffy, like a Spuds MacKenzie pit bull, not an American bull pit who was afraid of cats, but watched her Chihuahua Tuffy get run over when he was running across the street when she was little. Also, she claimed to have a pet bunny that her father cooked and served to her at communion. Now, if that's not just the icing on the idiocy cake this woman exposed me to, I don't know what is. Again, why have no compassion for animals if these two traumatic things happened to her? Because she's a liar. I am so stupid. I just remember her saying this after writing about animals. I find more lies every day, and I'm not vomiting anymore. I can firmly say that 100%. I'm not going to let her destroy me. Sorry for the rant. I can't believe I just remembered this BS. Christine. It sounds like animal rescue is a lot like being in a narcissistic family. It's just as toxic. At least it can be. So, hope that helps. Thank you for your contribution and story, Christine. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you guys. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance.